Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you to Oz Farm, the stunning 82-acre equestrian and events ranch of Jenny Oz Leroy. Hailing from a long lineage of Hollywood royalty, Jenny is the great-granddaughter of Warner Brothers' Harry Warner and the granddaughter of Mervyn Leroy, producer of The Wizard of Oz. So it's no surprise her ranch is stacked with mementos from her famous family. As a horse lover and hospitality expert with restaurants across the country, Jenny takes us through the grounds, main house, stables, events barn, sunset deck, and more. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, Homeworthy. Welcome to Oz Farm. This is the farmhouse. Come on in. So my full name is Jenny Oz Leroy because my grandfather produced The Wizard of Oz, and my family were the Warner Brothers, the creator of Warner Brothers, which is such a great honor. And that's why I named Oz Farm, Oz Farm. There's no place like home. So that's why there's so many great odes to it. People ask me if there's a Yellow Brick Road. We don't have one yet, but we have had a horse named Yellow Brick Road. So there's a lot of history sprinkled out throughout the house and the barn. I like it to be subtle. I'll show you some hints. The barn says Oz on the windows, and people don't always notice that until the end. And I like that instead of it being, you know, in your face, Wizard of Oz. Even though I'm enough in your face, as people would say. This is a Biedermeier table that was my dad and mom's. They imported it from England, so it's one of my favorite pieces. This is a beautiful drawing of our house in the Hamptons. So I grew up out there, and it makes me think of my childhood. Flowers picked from my own yard, which is so nice. So come on in, see my kitchen. I don't spend that much time in the house. I spend a lot of time out on the farm, which you'll see why. But when I am in here, I'm in this beautiful kitchen. This is a solid piece of wood from one tree that was imported from England. My parents imported this probably in the 70s, and we used to have breakfast and lunch and holiday dinners. So it has a really special meaning to me. These chairs were in the Dakota, in the building that I grew up in. So it's really special to me. If anyone knew who my dad was, you know he was a little wide in the hips. So these chairs were designed for him. So it's really nice to sit and have breakfast here. And there's a little bit of history throughout the whole house. I like to have my new world of Oz Farm with the old world of The Wizard of Oz, which was produced by my grandfather. This is one of the pictures you can see of the apartment that I grew up in, and you can see where the chairs are and where I have a little bit of reflection and an ode to the house that I grew up on. And I try to reflect it here at Oz Farm. So come on, we'll keep going. So we opened this space up last year. There's a lot of rainbows around here. You're going to see a lot of neon rainbows. There's probably 5 in total. This is one of my favorite. So it's just when you need a little extra happiness in your life, you just flip on the rainbow. So, and we opened this up last year. It's just really, I love the light. It's one of the things I fell in love with this property. And there's just wonderful little odes to my grandfather. Here's a great picture of him with Frank Sinatra, all the different artists and people and creative minds that he worked with over the years. There's another one behind you. You can see him working on a set at some movie, probably in the 40s or 50s, which is really special. So the farmhouse it's for me and my family. We do a lot of cooking outside, and because we live in the Hudson Valley, which we're so lucky, it's so interesting. Growing up in New York City, being in Union Square, all of those things that you go to the Union Square markets, those are all farms from upstate New York. So now having a farmhouse in upstate New York, also a wedding and events venue. That is primarily what Oz Farm does, besides being a horse hotel. So it's compartmentalized. The house, I've really learned to make it for me and my family and loved ones, and little Roxy, my little dachshund puppy. It's important to separate that because we've hosted over 500 weddings at Oz Farm. So there's a lot of cooking that goes on here. We've done vegan weddings, we've done corporate events. We had the largest gathering of defenders in the Northeast 2 years ago. That was incredible. It was 1,500 people, 600 cars, glamping overnight. So, but this space, I really try to separate it to have for me and my loved ones. And that's why I like having my family and memories around. But a lot of cooking, a lot of fresh items from Story Farm and all the amazing places that are around here. I don't have a garden on property because I love to just go and take all of the things from the natural elements of all the people who are in this area and support the small farmers and things like that. And that's really special. And they are way better farmers than I could be. I'll stick to the parties and hospitality and I'll let them grow the great vegetables. But lots of grilling outside and barbecues, and we're really lucky to live in this area. So although I do keep the farmhouse for my house, I do have an office. I've been known to be a little bit of a workaholic. So let me show you the home office. It has a lot of inspiration from my grandfather, my father, my mother. My mother is an incredible chef. She says as a cook, but even bringing her a cappuccino is a terrifying experience. But anyway, so in this room that we're turning into an office for me, I have some really special things. My grandfather was the horse lover, which is something that a lot of people don't know. He was president of the Hollywood Race Park. So I have all these amazing things. Like this was a silver belt made for him that has the Hollywood, it says Hollywood Walk of Fame, and it has 3 really famous horses that he owned. So he loved horses from a very young age, and these are actually his prints up here and that painting. And if you see this wall, this is a really fun wall. So it's got my grandfather, it's got me and my dad, it's got a wild, this is all the inspiration. This is the wall that I look at when I'm working. Up top is a drawing that was printed in the New Yorker after my father died. And if you see it, it's like he's conducting and having a tree moved, which should be so simple. And that everyone in my family has one of those. And it's just, my dad was that kind of guy, like move the tree. Of course you can move a tree. So it inspires me to go beyond your limits and follow your stars, which is my dad, what he used to say. We also have every memo my father ever wrote, and we are working on a documentary about him, which is really exciting. So I have like probably 50 of these books. So I separated them into different years, and this is, right now I'm in the 2000 year, which is wild because like the internet was happening and my dad was getting into all of that. My New York Post with me with Donald Trump, page 6, it's one of my favorites. So I have that framed. My grandfather's, these were all his binoculars from when he was at the racetrack. So I'm really lucky to have all these amazing pieces. I have something else very special here. My best friend gave me last year, this was one of the first plays my dad was involved in, called Between Two Thieves. So it was really special to get that as a birthday gift. And I will show you some more in the barn, but there are a lot of pictures like this of my father on the set with Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz. So that was my dad, and he was about 5 years old. And so we have a lot of these framed in the barn, which I will show you next. Things like rhinestone microphones. I used to have a rhinestone company. This was made for Jessica Simpson. This was made for Kate Hudson. And yeah, there's just, everything has a history here. It's pretty exceptional. Oh wait, here, look, see? Told you, rainbow, neon rainbow number 2. of Oz Farm, which is the horse barn. I would live in the horse barn if it was allowed. And I built this barn in 2008, and it has a really special lounge at the front of it that is called the Velvet Brown Lounge, and I will show you why in 1 second. Show you my favorite part of the barn. I would live in the barn, as I say. I think every horse girl would. So this is the Velvet Brown Lounge. It's named after my favorite horse. She's very special. And the walls have history of so many wonderful things. The most prized possession I have, this is a picture of Elizabeth Taylor, whose name was Velvet Brown in National Velvet, and the horse in the movie was called the Pie. His real name was King Charlie. This is a signed autograph picture to my grandfather from Elizabeth Taylor. So it says, "To Mervyn, love Velvet Brown and the Pie," which is like, as a kid and riding, there was nothing more special. So this is the Pie, the horse that I had him for 18 years. He passed away 2 years ago. He's under a tree at Oz Farm. I can barely even go visit him. He was a little bit of a grump, so if you read this sign, it says, "If you are not Oz, I will bite." My old trainer made that for me. Anyway, so this is, everybody has their own wall. And actually, this wall was gonna be shared with another horse, George, and when we did it, these pictures kept falling off the wall, so we realized Pie wanted his own wall. Then we're gonna move on to Yellow Brick Road. He was a really beautiful horse that I had. We were very successful at the Hampton Classic. This is, when you win a blue ribbon, you get this, and I never want to lose this, so that's why it's on this wall very safely. And we have his nameplate. And then we have, this wall is George Goes to Hollywood. He was a really special horse. He's also under a tree at Oz Farm. I had him for 18 years. So this is a history wall. We have thousands of photographs of my grandfather. Probably my favorite one is, this is what's called watching the dailies. So this is my grandfather actually, during the filming and making of The Wizard of Oz, reviewing all of the daily films. So legendary. The famous Jack Warner, my great uncle. Most people know him in Hollywood. He was a tough guy. This is him with Alfred Hitchcock. And this is him at the races in Hollywood, at the Hollywood Race Park, and you can see the binoculars that are in my office, and the obviously late great Audrey Hepburn. How can you not have her looking over your farm? So people get pretty excited when they see this wall of fame, and I like to think that it inspires all of us. And these are just some other past horses. This is Zurich. He was really special. He's also buried here under a tree. And most recently, our little guy, Stormy, 32 inches tall, our mascot. We lost him after having him for almost 19 years. And yeah, we're on the hunt for a new mini, so very excited. So let me take you in to see the most important of all, where the horses live. We like to keep it separate so they can have peace and quiet, because unlike us, they don't need a lot of stimulation all the time. I built the barn in 2008 and wanted it to be very open and airy for the horses. And a lot of the stalls are all on one end, and then everything we do to the horses is on this end so that they can have peace and quiet. So let's go see who's, I think they're having lunch right now. This is Disco, she's my newest. She's a special character. She's taking a nap. They all have fans, insulation. She's getting some good fan time. This is our newest dude of the farm. This is Dash, but his show name is Happy Hour, obviously being in hospitality. He's very friendly. He loves the camera. Come here. Come say hi. So he's 7 years old, and he's my sister's horse. I also ride him. He's really special, buddy. And he loves when we have events. He loves to grab the guy's boutonnieres. He's really good at that. We didn't teach him that. He just came with it as his own trick. We are headed towards the queen of the farm, Velvet Brown herself, who is just a total superstar and obviously stunningly beautiful, very well fed. So this is Velvet. She's just she's what you would call my heart horse. She's very special. Everything from, we should sell Velvet hugs. I mean, they're just the smell of her, the things that horses do for you. So, but yes, I've been riding my whole life, and I would spend like an uncomfortable amount of time with her if it was appropriate, but she's sort of like a movie star. She's like, doesn't need, too much attention. So what's really great at Oz Farm is we also host weddings and events here. And when the guests are here, they can see the horses. And then this takes you to the Dorothy Barn. So I'll show you that next. You can see, like when we have events, all the horses hang their heads outside. We do cocktail hour out here. Everyone's in their suits. There's music playing. They have champagne. The horses are nuzzling them. They're part of the party, which everybody loves. So this is the Dorothy Barn. We started doing events here in 2016. I actually helped renovate it myself with two gentlemen, and when I look back at the pictures of all the weddings, it's so wonderful to see how far our work has come. It was one of the original barns here, and so we have two barns on the property. This is the main one for events. It just has such a charm. It's so warm and beautiful, and this can seat up to 150. There's also a patio that opens up, and we have done this with long tables, with round tables. We've done higher elegant to more farm chic, and I really tried to keep it as neutral as possible so people could put their own spin on it. So when people come to design their event, whether it's a wedding or a birthday party, it really lends itself to whatever people want to add to make it special for their day. So like me, I want disco balls everywhere. So the next party I'm throwing in here is going to be a full disco ball barn dance party. I bought Oz Farm. It wasn't Oz Farm when I bought it. I bought Oz Farm in 2006. It was the year that my brother passed away. I realized at the time that I wanted to wake up and see horses outside my window. And that's just some moment in life that you have that you can't escape once it gets in your head. So in 2006, I bought this farm, and I was like, oh, it's so great. I'm so excited, but it needed a lot of work. So I didn't really live here until about 2011 or 12. And I realized I really loved it up here. It was close to New York City. And obviously being born and raised in hospitality, it was a horse farm, but I was like, maybe there's something up here that people want events. So I actually started doing events at other people's property up here from about 2012 to 2014. And then I was like, with all my knowledge and history of events, why not host them at my own farm? So this was the smaller barn on the property. So that's when, in 2016, I decided to renovate this and put up a little sign and see what happens. And it totally blew up overnight. We did 13 weddings the first year. And then the second year, I did about 48 between on the property and off the property. The farm itself hosts about 25 a year, and we try to keep it at that. Although we have to keep the brides away from, there are a lot of them want to. I could do more if I wanted to, but we have to have a nice balance. So, so it's really special. There's not a lot of horse farms that also host events that have horses in the background of our quality, at your cocktail hour. So sometimes there's celebrity horses here who've just won some $1 million class or something, and people get to see them and take pictures with them. So it's very special. This is one of those special pieces. This is a butcher block table that my mother gave me. My mom's English, so that's why we have a lot of stuff from England. So it's really, you can see that this was really used. So we do wedding cakes on here. Sometimes we open the drawer and do like overflowing flowers. There's all kinds of different content you can see on our website, ozfarmny.com, or Ozfarm Instagram has so many great stories. But we've used this piece in so many different ways. It's very heavy to move, so we like to keep it here. But I'll show you all these doors open up to the patio, which is really nice. Under the stars, twilight, it has such a great feeling to it. A lot of people will do their dinner inside and then dancing out on the patio, which is really special. And of course, every farm needs a vintage farm truck. So I call her the Princess Bride, actually. It's a 1965 F100. 3 on the tree is what people say. That's if you know the lingo. I'm kind of a car girl. So yeah, a lot of the dads want to drive it, and I'm like, you have to be able to drive a 3 on the tree, which is 3 gears on the tree, as they call it. This is our trailer bar, so we converted a horse trailer into a bar, so it's like a welcome station. And then as you follow the little path, you can see the Tin Man, which is a old camper that we converted into a photo booth. So when you come here and you have events, we can put your name on it, all that kind of stuff, and everybody gets the photos at the end of the night. If you don't want to use it, we just convert it into like a really cool lounge, but most people do. Note to the brides though, the photos also come to me. So some of you out there, I have some really good content. You know who you are, and I would never share it, obviously, but I got some pretty fun stuff. So yeah, so we do fire pits out here, but we are working on having more public events here. We're gonna do a Rosé All Day festival. I really want to do a pickle festival. That's the food concept that I want to do. And of course, a Wizard of Oz festival for Halloween is definitely going to be on the books. My vision is like everybody dressed as Dorothy in all their different Dorothy versions. So now I'd love to show you the rest of the property. There's more with tiny house and sunset deck and where ceremony field is. So we can go check that out. So this space actually between the house and the barn, when I first bought this property, was completely covered in brush. Like, didn't even know that these beautiful rocks were here and these beautiful trees. And it took like a month to clear it out. So this is like our very like Zen spot, and I call it Hammockville because we've got the hammocks. And I used to have more hammocks, but I realized I really don't want more than one other person on the hammocks near me at the same time. But it is a really nice, chill spot, and the big, beautiful trees are so pretty. So one of my vintage pieces of Oz Farm is Pinky the golf cart. God, I don't even know how old she is at this point. The brides love her, and she's definitely an Oz Farm OG family member. So we're gonna go visit Sunset Deck and the tree house, which is our tiny house, which is the most magical views at Oz Farm. So jump on in and I'll give you a tour. So here we are at the tree house. It's our original tiny house at Oz Farm. It is, I believe it's only 16 by 9 feet. So no clutter allowed in a tiny house, which we love. And it has the most special views at Oz Farm. So come on in. So I use this space to chill and maybe work a little bit. I have a writing desk in here, so I can move the desk out if I want some inspiration, if I'm working on something. But it's just a place to put your feet up and enjoy the view. There's one picture in here. It's of my grandfather, so it's an inspiration. And of course, more neon rainbows. It has both air conditioning and heating, so during the winter, it's really, really beautiful in here. There is a little bunk for staying overnight, and it's just as simple and beautiful. And we call it the tree house because there's a giant tree obviously growing up through the back of it. So we built this ourselves with some help from some local friends that are professionals, obviously. And this view is really what made me leave the big city and live out here. So it has the most amazing sunsets, which is why right over there we have Sunset Deck. So originally when I bought this farm, this was actually all forest. So we cleared this area, and I had this idea to have a PDR, which is a private dining room for you non-hospitality people, out here. And I started to look at all the really special trees on the property, because when you have like brush and forest, it's kind of hard to see. So I started to mark off all the big, beautiful trees, which I definitely got from my mother and father, their love for trees. So this tree really stood out. And we decided we wouldn't put the dining room here, but we would build a tiny house, because tiny houses became a thing. We wanted something, no clutter, something where we could just sit and gaze out. We've had quite a few fun dance parties out here on this little deck and fire pits, but that's what made us decide to build the tiny house at Oz Farm. And that's why we call it the tree house, because this tree is really beautiful. I think it's an oak tree, and it's just really beautiful. There's also cedar trees here, all kinds of different specimens that I'm learning about, still learning about. So we just left the tiny house, the tree house, and now we're walking to Sunset Deck. We also have trails throughout Oz Farm. When we did the Land Rover event, they actually came and built all these amazing trails. There was quite a lot of wet. It had rained, and we were going to do this whole mud part of the event, which was really cool. So these are all trails that have been made. So when people come and ride their horses or bring their trucks, you can be on this trail, and then it leads to the beautiful Sunset Deck. Sometimes we have big long tables out here for dinner. We have a fire pit, and I've done wedding ceremonies out here. We do a lot of photographs out here with the brides and grooms, and it's really special. We've had DJs and dance parties out here, and I just started to put this together, which was really fun. Power washed it myself, picked out some furniture, got the swinging chairs, and it's a beautiful, quiet place. Put your feet up, and you can see the sunset and the mountains at night, and it's really beautiful. It's one of those other really special spots on the farm, because I do so much work here between the businesses and the horses and things like that. It's just one of those places where no laptops, maybe a book, and some birds who live here, yeah. So this is a really special spot. So Sunset Deck, and we have string lights out here, and I do have long, beautiful tables for it. I can show you some setups that it looks really special, but here we are. This was sort of built for me and my friends, like girl time, you know. Everyone's been rehashing a lot of Sex and the City episodes, so it's like, this is like the country version, but it's just, there's nothing to distract you out here. You just see the mountains and the grass and have a cool breeze. And so sometimes we have lunch out here, definitely fire pit. So I really use it for like peaceful, trying to protect your peace, you know. It's really beautiful out here. So I bought Oz Farm in 2006, and by 2012, I was spending like 50% of my time up here from New York City. And what I've learned for me, especially as an equestrian, I would rather live in the country and visit the city for the theater, for restaurants, for seeing my friends. Obviously, I still do business in the city too, but not full. I grew up full time living in New York City, running Tavern on the Green as a young age. I was 22, had 1,000 employees, the Russian tea room, and just work. And 95% of my life has been work, which I'm totally fine with. I obviously love that, but you have to have a balance, and you hit a certain point in your life when balance is important. So I have to have spaces like this to not distract me. I still have cell phone service here, but if I didn't, it would be a gift. But sometimes I do leave it, which is just the nicest moments. And my sister and I hang out here, my loved ones and I hang out here. So it's really, it's a very sacred place to just relax and look at the mountain and enjoy the peace of the country.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.